The Three Wishes story to end all Three Wishes stories. I Wish I May, I Wish I Might, by Bill Pronsini. He sat on a driftwood throne near the great grey rocks by the sea, watching the angry foaming waves hurl themselves again and again upon the cold and empty whiteness of the beach. He listened to the discordant cry of the endlessly circling gulls overhead, and to the sonorous lament of the chill October wind. He drew meaningless patterns in the silvery sand before him with the toe of one rope sandal, and then erased them carefully with the sole, and began anew. He was a pale, blond young man of 14, his hair close-cropped, his eyes the color of faded cornflower. He was dressed in light corduroy trousers and a gray cloth jacket, and his thin white feet inside the sandals were bare. His name was David Lanning. He looked up at the leaden sky, shading his eyes against its filtered glare. His fingers were blue-numb from the cold. He turned his head slowly, bringing within his vision the eroded face of a steep cliff, with its clumps of tule grass like patches of beard stubble rising from the beach behind him. He released a long, sighing breath and turned his head yet again to look out at the combers breaking and retreating. He stood and began to walk slowly along the beach, his hands buried deep in the pockets on his cloth jacket. The wind swirled loose sand against his body, and there was the icy wetness of the salt spray on his skin. He rounded a gradual curve in the beach. Ahead of him he could see the sun-bleached, bark-bare upper portion of a huge timber half buried in the sand, some 20 yards from the water's edge. Something green and shiny, something which had gone unnoticed as he passed earlier, lay in the wet sand near it. A bottle. He recognized it as such immediately. It was resting on its side, with the neck partially buried in the sand, recently carried in, it seemed, on the tide. It was oddly shaped, the glass an opaque green color, the color of the sea, very smooth, without markings or labelings of any kind. It appeared to be quite old and extremely fragile. David knelt beside it and lifted it in his hands and brushed the clinging particles of sand from its slender neck. Scarlet sealing wax had been liberally applied to the cork guarding the mouth. The wax bore an indecipherable emblem, an ancient seal. David's thin fingers dexterously chipped away most of the serration, exposing the dun-colored cork beneath. He managed to loosen the cork, and the bottle began to vibrate, almost imperceptibly. There was a sudden loud popping sound, like a magnum of champagne opening, and a microsecond later an intense, blinding flash of crimson phosphorescence. David cried out, toppling backward on the sand, the bottle erupting from his hands. He blinked rapidly, and there came from very close to him high, loud peals of resounding laughter that commingled with the wind and the surf to fill the cold autumn air with rolling echoes of sound. But he could see nothing. The bottle lay on the sand a few feet away, and there was the timber and the beach and the sea. But there was nothing else, no one to be seen. And yet the hollow, reverberating laughter continued. David scrambled to his feet, looking frantically about him. Fright kindled inside him. He wanted to run. He tensed his body to run. All at once, the laughter ceased. A keening voice assailed his ears, a voice out of nowhere, like the laughter, a voice without gender, without inflection, a neuter voice. I wish I may, I wish I might. What? David said, his eyes wide, vainly searching. Where are you? I am here, the voice said. I am here on the wind. Where? I can't see you. None can see me. I am the king of jinns, the ruler of genies, the all-powerful, unjustly doomed to eternity in yon flagon by the mortal sorcerer Amroj. Laughter. 1,000 years alone have I spent, a millennium on the cold, dark, empty floor of the ocean. Alone, imprisoned. But now I am free, you have set me free. I knew you would do thus, for I know all things. You shall be rewarded. 3 wishes shall I grant you, according to custom, according to tradition. I wish I may, I wish I might. Those be the words, the gateways to your fondest dreams. Speak them anywhere, anytime, and I shall hear and obey. I shall make each of your wishes come true. David moistened his lips. Any 3 wishes? Any 3, the voice answered. No stipulations, no limitations. I am the king of jinns, the ruler of genies, the all-powerful. I wish I may, I wish I might. You know the words, do you not? Yes, yes, I know them. The laughter. Amraj, foul sorcerer, foul mortal, I am avenged. Avant, avant! And suddenly there was a vacuum of sound, a roaring of silence, the pressure of which hurt David's ears and made him cry out in pain. But then the moment passed, and there was nothing but the sounds of the tide and the wind and the scavenger birds winging low, low over the sea. He gained his feet and stood very still for perhaps a minute. Then he began to run. He ran with wind speed, away from the timber half buried in the sand, away from the smooth, empty green bottle. His sandaled feet seemed to fly above the sand, leaving only the barest of imprints there. He fled along the beach until, in the distance, set back from the ocean on a short bluff, he could see a small white house with yellow warmth shining through its front window. He left the sand there, running across the ground now more solid, running toward the white house on the bluff. A wooden stairway appeared on the rock, winding skyward. As he neared it, a woman came rushing down the stairs. She ran toward him and threw her arms around him and hugged him close to her breast. "Oh, David, where have you been? I've been frantic with worry." "At the beach," he answered, drinking great mouthfuls of the cold, salt air into his aching lungs. "By the big rocks." "You know you're not supposed to go there," the woman said, hugging him. "David, you know that. Look at the way you're dressed. Oh, you mustn't ever, ever do this again. Promise you won't ever do it again." "I found a bottle by the big timber," David said. "There was a genie inside. I couldn't see him, but he laughed and laughed, and then he gave me 3 wishes. He said that all I have to do is wish, and he'll make my wish come true. Then he laughed some more, and said some things I didn't understand, and then he was gone and my ears hurt." "Oh, what a story. David, where did you get such a story?" "I have 3 wishes," he said. "I can wish for anything and it will come true. The genie said so." "David, David, David. I'm going to wish for 1,000,000 trillion ice cream cones, and I'm going to wish for the ocean to be always as warm as my bathwater so I can go wading whenever I want. And I'm going to wish for all the little boys and girls in the world to be just like me, so I'll never ever be without somebody to play with." Gently, protectively, the mother took the hand of her retarded son. "Come along now, dear. Come along." "I wish I may, I wish I might," David said.